What if the most advanced civilization of the ancient world did not vanish in myth, but slipped beneath the Atlantic in a single geological heartbeat? Atlantis occupies a singular position at the intersection of archaeology, geology, and cultural memory. First described by Plato in the Timaeus and Critias, the civilization was said to have flourished around 9600 BCE, possessing monumental architecture, sophisticated social organization, and technological prowess far exceeding that of its contemporaries. While mainstream archaeology treats Atlantis with caution, its persistent presence across centuries of inquiry suggests that it is more than a simple allegory. Rather, Atlantis functions as a lens through which we examine humanity's earliest experiments with complexity and the fragility of those achievements. Plato did not invent Atlantis to entertain. He framed it as a warning carved in stone. In Plato's account, Atlantis was not merely powerful, but morally ambitious, a civilization that mastered land and sea, yet ultimately succumbed to hubris. Archaeologically, this narrative resonates with patterns observed in early complex societies, where environmental stress, resource overexploitation, and rapid expansion often preceded collapse. Although Plato wrote millennia after the supposed destruction, his insistence that the tale was inherited from much older Egyptian records invites serious scrutiny rather than outright dismissal. To understand Atlantis, we must first abandon the modern coastline and redraw the ancient world. At the end of the last ice age, global sea levels were dramatically lowered by as much as 120 meters. Vast continental shelves, now submerged beneath the Atlantic, were once habitable plains, river valleys, and coastal plateaus. Paleogeographic reconstructions reveal that regions such as the Azores Plateau, the Canary Island Shelf, and portions of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge were far more exposed and accessible than today. In this context, the existence of a large, organized society in the Atlantic Basin becomes a geological possibility rather than a fantasy. The sea does not destroy civilizations, it archives them. Marine geology teaches us that rapid sea level rise can engulf entire landscapes within centuries or even decades. Meltwater pulses around 9600 BCE coincide strikingly with Plato's proposed date for Atlantis's destruction. These events would have submerged coastal settlements swiftly, preserving them beneath layers of sediment. From an archaeological perspective, the ocean floor becomes not an absence of evidence, but a sealed repository awaiting methodological advances. Atlantis challenges the comforting belief that progress is linear. Conventional models of human development suggest a slow ascent from hunter-gatherers to agriculturalists, then to urban societies. Atlantis disrupts this narrative by proposing a peak of complexity far earlier than expected, followed by near total erasure. Archaeology increasingly recognizes that history is not a straight line, but a series of advances, collapses, and rediscoveries. The notion of a lost high civilization fits uneasily, but not impossibly, within this framework. If Atlantis existed, its greatest achievement may have been organization, not technology. Plato describes an intricate system of concentric canals, harbors, and administrative divisions. Such features imply advanced knowledge of hydrology, engineering, and urban planning. Importantly, these are not technologies that require metal or writing to exist. They require coordinated labor, shared ideology, and long-term planning. Archaeological parallels can be drawn with sites like Göbekli Tepe, which demonstrate monumental construction by societies previously thought incapable of such feats. Myth is not the enemy of archaeology. It is often its first map. Across cultures, flood myths recur with remarkable consistency, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica. These narratives may encode collective memories of post-glacial sea level rise and catastrophic flooding. Atlantis, viewed through this lens, becomes a cultural fossil, a story preserving the emotional and experiential truth of environmental collapse, even if its details have been reshaped by time. The absence of ruins does not equate to the absence of history. Critics often argue that no definitive Atlantean ruins have been found. Yet systematic exploration of deep-sea sites remains limited, expensive, and technologically demanding. Much of the Atlantic seabed remains unmapped at high resolution. Archaeology has repeatedly demonstrated that absence of evidence is frequently a function of where and how we look. Atlantis forces archaeology to confront its own boundaries. Traditional archaeological practice evolved around terrestrial excavation. Submerged landscapes challenge these conventions, requiring interdisciplinary collaboration between archaeologists, geologists, oceanographers, and climate scientists. Atlantis, whether literal or symbolic, has accelerated interest in submerged prehistory, prompting serious investigation into drowned coastlines worldwide. If Atlantis fell in a single day and night, the cause was not mythic, it was geological. Earth sciences provide plausible mechanisms for sudden destruction. Mega tsunamis triggered by landslides, volcanic collapses, or tectonic shifts. Rapid inundation following ice dam failures. Seismic instability along mid-ocean ridges. None of these require supernatural explanations. From an archaeological standpoint, catastrophe is a recurring agent of cultural transformation. What makes Atlantis unsettling is not its power, but its familiarity. A technologically confident society, reliant on environmental stability, undone by sudden climate change. This pattern feels uncomfortably modern. Atlantis endures not because it promises lost wonders, but because it mirrors our own vulnerabilities. Archaeology, at its core, studies failure as much as success. The true legacy of Atlantis may lie in what survived, not what sank. If a complex Atlantic civilization existed, its survivors would have dispersed along newly forming coastlines, carrying fragments of knowledge, symbolism, and social practice. Some researchers speculate that echoes of Atlantean culture may persist in early Neolithic traditions on both sides of the Atlantic. While speculative, this idea aligns with models of cultural diffusion following displacement. Atlantis invites us to reconsider who we call primitive. Early societies are often underestimated because they left fewer durable materials. Yet sophistication is not solely measured by metallurgy or writing. Social cohesion, environmental knowledge, and architectural ambition can exist without these markers. Atlantis challenges the bias that complexity must look modern to be recognized. The debate over Atlantis is not about belief, it is about method. Responsible archaeology neither accepts Atlantis as literal fact, nor dismisses it as pure fiction without examination. Instead, it asks, what conditions would make such a civilization possible? What evidence would survive? Where should we look? In this sense, Atlantis is a productive hypothesis, not a dogma. Every generation redraws Atlantis in its own image. From Renaissance maps to modern sonar scans, interpretations of Atlantis reflect contemporary knowledge and anxieties. Today, climate science and underwater exploration give the story renewed relevance. Archaeology evolves, and with it, the questions we are willing to ask. Atlantis may never be found, but it has already changed archaeology. The search for Atlantis has driven innovation in marine surveying, paleoclimate modeling, and interdisciplinary research. It has expanded the temporal horizon of civilization studies and legitimized the investigation of submerged landscapes as critical archives of human history. The greatest mistake would be to assume that everything important has already been discovered. History repeatedly shows that paradigm-shifting discoveries often begin at the margins of accepted knowledge. Atlantis occupies that margin, not as a certainty, but as a provocation that keeps inquiry alive. Civilization did not begin once, nor in one place, and it did not rise forever. Whether Atlantis was a single society, a composite memory, or a symbolic warning, it represents a deeper truth. Human advancement is fragile. The archaeological record is punctuated by sudden silences where complexity once thrived. Atlantis reminds us that the ocean is not empty, it is patient. Beneath the Atlantic waves may lie landscapes that once echoed with human activity, now sealed in darkness. As technology advances, these submerged worlds may yet speak. The story of Atlantis is not about a lost past. It is about an uncertain future. In an age of accelerating climate change and rising seas, Atlantis resonates as both a mystery and a mirror. Archaeology does not search for Atlantis to reclaim a golden age, but to understand how easily one can be lost. Human history does not end at the shoreline. It continues beneath the waves. Atlantis, whether real or remembered, compels us to look beyond conventional boundaries of time, land, and certainty. In doing so, it reminds us that the deepest chapters of our past may still lie submerged, waiting not for belief, but for understanding.